Alright, Internet. Today, I'm going to be talking about Atomic Blonde. Or more specifically, I'm going to be comparing Atomic Blonde to the book Coldest City, the book Atomic Blonde is based on. It's a graphic novel by Anthony Johnston, who's most known apparently for his work on a comic book called Wasteland. Alright, so let's get into this. First of all, just real quick rundown of the movie. I enjoyed it. It's a fun movie. It's got a lot of action to it. In fact, that's one of the main differences between the comics and the book, is they really actioned up the movie. The comic book is almost more of a slow burn, like John le Carre type spy thriller. Only really a couple different action scenes in the entire thing, and most of it's people doing like spy work. That being said, the movie actually follows the general story and plot of the book fairly well. The key differences between the movie and the book are the characters. First of all, let's talk about the main character, the Atomic Blonde, Lorraine Ferrata. In the comic books, she looks a little bit more like that. So right off the bat, I can't quite tell if it's a lighting thing or if she has black hair in the book. But so she's not blonde in the book, so that's worth noting. Although I think there is one part where she is wearing a blonde. Although there is one part in the book where she wears a blonde wig. Her character is actually fairly on the money as far as the book, besides them changing her to being blonde. However you may or may not feel about that, I don't consider it a very big difference. The main differences to the characters between the book and the movie, and I can talk about this without going into any real spoilers, don't worry, I'll warn you before we go into any spoilers, is James McAvoy's Percival. In the comic book, Percival is an old dude, like a cranky dude in his 50s, in his mid to late 50s. However, in the movie, he's played by James McAvoy. Of course, obviously younger, but James McAvoy also, the movie's decided to do this stylistic thing where James McAvoy is blending in with the German punk scene, which is interesting. It's a very different take on the character from the book, although a lot of his motivations and behaviors are similar, although he's definitely more animated in the movie, and he doesn't have that I'm a grumpy old guy vibe going on that he does in the book. In all honesty, in the book, he looks more like John Goodman's character. In fact, when I started watching the trailer, I thought maybe that was John Goodman's character. James McAvoy, ironically, looks a lot more like the French secret agent in the book. However, he doesn't play the French secret agent because the French secret agent is played by a woman, which I didn't really mind. I mean, they definitely did it just so that Charlize Theron could have a lesbian sex scene, but I didn't have a problem with them making the French agent a girl. What I did kind of have a problem with is that in the book, LaSalle is he's not a novice. The movie makes a big deal about her character being sort of out of her depth and a novice. Someone does accuse LaSalle of being out of his depth in the comic, but it's not quite the same connotation. In the comics, he's a smooth operator. He's been embedded in Berlin for a while. He owns his own restaurant. So he's very on top of that. But in the movie, she's young and inexperienced. And I don't know why we had to downgrade the character in that way. Why couldn't she have also been experienced? I mean, don't get me wrong. In the book, LaSalle is not as good as an agent as Bronson is. But the gap is not that great. The gap in the book is not as great in their skill levels. The other major difference is the CIA agent played by John Goodman. In the comic, he really only appears in Germany. In the comic book, he is also more associated with Percival's character. They know each other, not him knowing the Atomic Blonde character. There's also one part in the movie where James McAvoy comes up with a scheme to how to get the agent Spyglass out of from the other side of the German Wall. In the book, it's actually Broughton's idea on how to do it. So they give him that idea for some reason. Other than that, they actually follow each other pretty well. Although the major difference being is that the movie feels way more like a comic book. They comic booked the shit out of it, which is weird because the book itself feels more like something you would watch on BBC, like a made for BBC it feels more like a John le Carré spy thriller. It feels a lot more like real spy work and like that kind of thing. It has a very grounded feel to it. Atomic Blonde feels like it's got a lot more John Wick in it. It's a lot more stylized. There's a lot more action. And don't get me wrong, the stylization is really cool. It's a visually very cool movie. Let's take a second to talk about the action, because damn is the action good. It really is. There is a continuous shot fight scene that may be one of the longest continuous shot fight scenes I've ever seen. And despite the fact that it's continuous shot and it's clearly a guy holding a camera, weaving in and out of people who are fighting, it looks better than anything Paul Greengrass has done in any of his goddamn Bourne movies, because you can actually fucking see what's happening. No, Paul Greengrass, I will never let it go that your movies are visually garbage. Not entirely visually garbage, just your fight scenes. You're wasting choreography on something we can't see. Terrible. Awful. I literally, the only thing I've seen from the new Jason Bourne movie is the final fight scene between him and the guy. Well, no, I saw the car chase. The car chase was good. But the fight scene with that guy was unwatchable. Just unwatchable. But so yeah, the action in this though is pretty great. We see it's gritty too, and we get to see her she gets the hell beat out of her, and she beats the hell out of other people. And like you can really feel the action and the violence as it's happening. It's very well done. The action is very well done. So I don't mind that there's a lot more of it in the book. I mean, there's a lot more of it in the movie than there is in the book, because it is very well done, and I can appreciate it from an action movie standpoint. So yes. I'm going to go into... Okay, so real quick before I go into the super spoilery comparison, just a real quick rundown of my overall opinion of the movie. I really enjoyed it. The movie basically follows the book, only they've actioned it up a little bit, and they tweak the ending to allow for more of a sequel. And I'll go into that more in spoilers. Although, I'll be honest here, I don't understand them tweaking the ending for a sequel. And the reason I don't understand them tweaking the ending for the sequel is because I don't understand where they think that sequel would go. The movie opens up with some text informing us about the falling of the Berlin Wall, and then telling us that is not this story, which is a lie. You see, because that's what Atomic Blonde and the Coldest City are actually about, is the end of the Cold War and the falling of the Berlin Wall. That's literally what the stories are about. It's historical fiction based around a real event. So when the movie tells us that, it's kind of a lie. I mean, sure, that's not what the characters are focused on, but that's what the story's actually about, is the ending of communism and the Cold War. You see, that's the thing. I don't understand what a sequel to Atomic Blonde would be, because literally the idea of the book is that the Cold War is ending. There's no more spy adventures to happen after this. It's just done. It's gone. It's just done. So I don't know where Atomic Blonde 2 would go. Tweaking it for sequels doesn't really feel like it makes sense when tweaking it for prequels, when prequels would be a better way to continue the Atomic Blonde story. in the Cold War and such. Maybe even take it back to the 70s. I don't know, but like, oh no, that would make her that make her a lot younger. So yeah, I don't understand where they think that's going to go, because ultimately the book and the movie are stories about the end of the Cold War. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure where they think a sequel would go. I really enjoyed the movie. I didn't understand all the changes they made. I felt like the change they made to the ending sort of muddied the overall meaning of the story. And I'll talk more about that in the spoilers. But honestly, if you like action, if you like spy stuff, you should definitely check it out. If you like John Wick, if you like action movies, you have got to see this just for the fight scenes. Now, I will say, if you like more of a more realistic sort of grounded spy stuff, you might prefer the book. It's a lot more grounded than the movie, but honestly, they're both worth checking out. So I give Atomic Blonde an 8. I enjoyed it. It's stylistic, it's hip, it's funny, and I hate 80s music, but I totally bought all the 80s music they put into this movie here. Definitely check it out. Please like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications. And now let's talk spoilers in 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Okay, so I went over most of the major differences between the movie and the books. And the major differences is typically in how they tweak some of the characters, specifically, like I mentioned before, James McAvoy and the French agent's characters have been pretty tweaked. John Goodman's character, the CIA agent, has also been tweaked to be more integral to the overall plot of the movie. Both the book and the movie are told in this her being debriefed and interrogated in a room. Some critics have questioned that mechanic, but it literally is how the story works. If you can't remove that framing device. It's part of how the movie works. Don't be stupid if you say that they shouldn't have done it that way. It's how both the book and the movie work. The framing device is good. Here's the thing about the ending. So this is a major spoiler for both movie and book. The point of the book at the end is that she's the double agent. She's the one setting up James McAvoy's character, not the other way around. And if you pay attention to the movie, you'll catch on to this as well. Especially James McAvoy's last words before he dies in the movie. Now, there is a big difference between his death in the book and the movie, which is in the book, he is killed by a Russian agent who is working with her, and not the other way around. Now, the other thing about it, though, is the book, I felt like the book handled the reveal smoother. It just felt a lot cleaner when they're revealing, like, she has, like, flashbacks to the way it really happened as opposed to how she was lying in the interview. And they show her destroying the pictures and whatnot. So I don't know why they changed that. Maybe they felt like they didn't want you. Maybe they felt like audiences would like it better if she wasn't leaving us for the Russians. And I get that, and I understand that they're probably tweaking it. Here's the difference. At the end of the movie, it looks like she's the double. It looks like she's the double agent betraying us to the Russians. Then it turns out that she's a triple agent actually working for the CIA, which doesn't really make sense if you think about it. She somehow was trained. I mean, that implies that she was trained by the CIA and then embedded in MI6. Then MI6 had her going on all these missions as she fed MI6 information to the Russians, then betrayed the Russians. Which is a little bit convoluted. And it's not as clean in terms of the meaning of what's happening in the book. In the book, they basically let us know that this is your way out. Being a double agent defecting is your way out of being in that business. That's how you get out. If you defect to the enemy, you're made for life. You get a house, a pension, everything. You just get to live. and the Cold War is ending, so she betrays them right at the end and defects to Russia. That's how the book ends. In the movie, she still totally betrays Percival, ends up going to the Russians, betraying the Russians, and then going and turns out, oh, she was working for the CIA the whole time. And I'll be honest, I don't like that. I don't think that's as clean. I don't think it's philosophically as cool. I think prequels would have been a better way to go. I think those prequels would have been even cooler, knowing we were going to lead up to her eventually defecting to Russia. I think that would have been a cooler, cleaner, more realistic ending. Like I said, I don't know where a sequel in the 90s would go. The Cold War is over. So the second twist makes it feel like they missed the point a little bit of the ending. The other thing is the list does not exist in the book. The list is a thing that that MI6 is using to try and flush out Satchel, which is the name of the double agent. Although I'm pretty sure I gotta look this up because I'm pretty sure in the book his name is Stashel. A second here. I'm about to either find this out. Also, the movie never touches on the Iceman, the Iceman subplot, which is that she believes that James McAvoy's character Percival is running a secret hitman group, which is killing people for money. Although that's probably just her cover before she comes up with the Stashel idea. Come on, where are they going to say that? But yeah, so in the book there is actually no list. The list is just something they're using to flesh out a spy. A British double agent, as it were. But yeah, I could have sworn. Yes, they do. It's Stashel. It's Stashel, which I don't know if that's German for satchel. It might be. I don't know. So yeah, I really liked Atomic Blonde, and I actually really liked The Coldest City. Which one is better? It's actually more in terms of of taste. Like I said, the movie is a lot more action-packed, a lot more stylized, a lot more colorful. The book is literally black and white. And it has a much more grounded, like I said, John le Carré type vibe to it overall. I think the movie misses the point of the ending of the book a little bit, but I still found it really enjoyable. All right, so those are my thoughts on Atomic Blonde and Coldest City and how they compare. Both worth your time, in my personal opinion, especially if you're an action fan for the movie. The book, especially if you're a spy fan. So definitely check them both out. You have a great day. Oh, and like, subscribe, comment, notify, all that jazz.